Dan Illman, Ashley Mailloux taking a look at race number 9 at Parx Racing on Saturday. It's Pennsylvania Derby preview day. Let's throw up the field for the local prep for the Pennsylvania Derby. It's the Smarty Jones going a mile and a 16th on the dirt. 6 entered. The 2 Catalytic is also cross-entered at Charlestown on Friday. There's a chance he might go there, but the 6 Gould's Gold is the 6-5 morning line favorite, getting immense class relief after facing champion Fierceness in the Jim Dandy.
And prior to that, he had several good efforts. Were they winning efforts? No. His lone win was his maiden score, but he was in the money in those 3 consecutive starts. They've taken him sort of everywhere that they wanted to go with him, and I think he's performed well. So maybe the Smarty Jones is a spot where he can not only get another win, but boost his confidence a little bit.
Now, pace could be key in this race because it's not a very big field. And as you can see from our Timeform US pace projector, that blue bar indicates that this race might favor front runners. And the number 6, Just Step On It, can get close to the pace. He was pushing Dornoch last time out in the Haskell. There's no Dornochs in here. He can get to the front under Dexter Haddock.
I think the other horse that is kind of key to focus in on is Catalytic. They have him maybe in the 2nd or 3rd spot early on. We can't forget in the Florida Derby that he was, tracking in 2nd throughout. He was never going to get to Fierceness in the end, but in terms of the fractions of that race, I wonder if that puts him pretty close to the pace in here.
Now, a horse that doesn't have a lot of early speed and is really pace dependent is the number 1 Mugatu. And we're going to watch his most recent effort, an off-turf heat in the Bald Eagle Derby. And Mugatu had no pace to run at here. The pace setter went 51 and change, almost 116 for 3/4 of a mile. And for Mugatu to make up this much ground before just flattening out at the end, I think shows he's in good form. I think a lot of folks have always questioned Mugatu's overall class. And in a race without speed, he's going to have to really bring his A game.
Yeah, I think there's been 2 sort of thoughts about him. Where does he class up compared to others? And what sort of distance does he need? Because when we have seen him close, he's closed from off of it, which sometimes has suggested more distance. But as we've also seen with some horses, more distance doesn't mean a improved performance. But I did think last time out overall at Laurel that it was a good effort. We talked about it just moments ago. The buyer came up light, but that's what happens when they crawl in terms of fractions, and that was a very slow race. Now, curious to see him against this group. He is going to cut back to a mile and a 16th. I do think if there is some pace in here, maybe he can run on. My concern, though, is how far back will he be early on?
The number 2 is Catalytic. He's cross-entered in the Hilton Memorial at Charlestown. With Bookham Dano opting to run at Saratoga, maybe Saffie Joseph will end up at Charlestown. But if he runs here, he is a strong contender. You mentioned his runner-up effort behind Fierceness in the Florida Derby. And then he ran in the Kentucky Derby where he simply had no chance. So Saffie regrouped, brought him back in this 7/8 of a mile sprint, and he shows some late life.
He certainly does. He finds his best stride late here, cannot get to Real Macho, who we've seen since then at Colonial, an okay 4th place finish and an overnight handicap. I think overall this is a very good performance. I think it also shows that 7/8 probably isn't Catalytic's strong suit. I know when we look at him early in his career, he was able to graduate at 6.5, but 6 furlongs ended up being a little short in his 2nd career start. And I think this is a distance that I'm curious to see. I'm curious to see if he's a miler or a mile and a 16th, and a little bit different than his home track of Gulfstream Park. If they went a mile, it's 1 turn. Here he does get that 2-turn test once again.
Gould's Gold, number 3, will run here. He's cross-centered in the St. Louis Derby at FanDuel on Saturday. He ran an excellent 2nd in this race, the Ohio Derby, where Batten Down, who we'll see in the Travers on Saturday, just speed popped the field. Gould's Gold was on a hard chase, and he never quits. He shows a lot of try in the stretch to continue to finish 2nd. Uncle Heavy, who's also in the Smarty Jones, is a non-threatening 5th. A good effort for Gould's Gold. And again, take the Jim Dandy with a lot of grains of salt because, listen, he was in very tough.
Yeah, he was very tough, and he never really got running from the back of the pack, and, he was well defeated. He only beat one other runner in there, but I think the Ohio Derby, when we go back to that race at Thistle and we looked at it, I thought it was a well-meant second. It was similar to the Sir Barton. He just missed in the Sir Barton, and I know he gave up the lead late, but I'm not concerned with it. It was a muddy track. It was a different ball game. I think he's a horse that he has shown potential time and time again, and this should be the class relief that he needs.
If you're liking Uncle Heavy in here, I think it's because perhaps he has the home court advantage. He's based at Parx. He's 3 for 3 at Parx, and it looked like he was going to start his 3-year-old campaign in big order when he upset the Grade 3 Withers in New York. Since then, nothing's gone right for Uncle Heavy. He didn't run well in the Wood. He didn't run well in the Preakness. He didn't run well in the Ohio Derby. I trust Butch Reed, though. He's putting blinkers on, and maybe that'll wake Uncle Heavy up a little bit.
I think blinkers on should help him. I also think we can't forget in the Wood Memorial, he was post-compromised. He was all the way out there. That didn't help him. Maybe I can make an excuse for the Preakness. I think the Ohio Derby is where he didn't take a lot of play, but I would have liked to seen just a tad more from him when it was all said and done. But I do like that they put him on the shelf. They didn't rush him back to the races after those 3 consecutive starts. They gave him a little bit of a freshening. Now they've made the equipment change. And to me, he's been working very well for this return to the races.
Lou Linder is a very dependable trainer at Parx. He has sent out the maiden, the number 5, Atrocious. It seems like a tough spot, and this horse's best races thus far have come on the synthetic going at Presque Isle Downs. He ran well last time out, finishing ahead of a next out winner at Presque Isle with a 73 buyer.
My concern with him is his buyers have increased in each of his starts at Presque Isle, and he's coming in here and off career best, but he's been defeated, in both of them. I wanted to say denied. Same thing. Neck defeats in both of those races, and now they're going to put him back on the dirt. So I'm just not sure how he's going to handle it. Obviously, he's bred for the dirt, but his progression has been on the synthetic at Presque Isle. So it could go one of 2 ways. He bounces on the dirt or he takes another step forward. My next issue is that step forward enough? I have tough times using a maiden like this in a race where there are other horses that have shown a lot more ability to this point.
Linder also campaigns the 6, Just Step On It, who is a gritty gate-to-wire winner when entered for the $75,000 claiming option 2 starts back. In the Haskell, he ran really well because he was up close to Dornock's pace, and he's not supposed to go with horses like Dornock in mind frame in the stretch, and he didn't. But he ended up finishing a decent 4th, and this time around, he might control things from the get-go.
Yeah, very decent 4th, and he gets a 90 buyer speed figure because of the circumstances of the race, right? And he was tracking the pace throughout, and he gets beat by almost 9 lengths, but we can't forget the top 2 were 6 1/4 clear the rest of the field. I thought it was a good performance. He certainly outran his odds that day. Now he gets back to Parx, a track where he has had success before. 2 of his 3 wins have been there on the dirt. And to me, some of his performances around 2 turns suggest that he could be somewhat close to the pace, if not, the pace setter in here. And he's been very dangerous when on the front end.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Smarty Jones, race 9 at Parx on Saturday. Gould's Gould is simply the horse to beat. And as we've seen in several of his races, if the pace is slow, that doesn't bother him. He'll be sitting 2nd, 3rd, or listen, if he catches a flyer, maybe he goes right to the top.
He could. Who knows what the strategy will be. I just think having the ability to be close to the lead or on it should be just fine for him. We haven't seen him on the lead, say, first quarter of a mile of a race, but he's been very close to it. So for me, I prefer his running style, and I just think time and time again, this will be class relief for him.
Uncle Heavy's last race was not good in the Ohio Derby. Sure, he didn't break very well, but he didn't make a run. I'm hoping blinkers on, getting back to Parx helps. I have to take at least 4-1. If he's slower than that, I'm probably just going to pass and watch the Smarty Jones. It's a prep for the Pennsylvania Derby after all. 3-2-6-4 for Ashley, 4-6-3-1 for me. It's race number 9 at Parx on Saturday. Good luck.